We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. Hope you guys are ready. Today's guest is a rock star, and not just because she's super cool, but because she is an actual rock star. And no, we didn't meet her at a rock concert, although that would have been pretty cool. But we met her in what could be considered the closest thing to a concert these days, VidFest.
Oh, yeah.
She was one of the speakers along with us, and she came to our meetup where we bonded.
That was good bonding right there at that meetup, I remember. And you know what? She is freaking awesome. And her career is pretty amazing as well. She is an award-winning musician and songwriter that has performed in front of thousands of people and some smaller groups like presidents, celebrities, and check this out, the Queen. Yes, today's guest has performed for the Queen. Pressure is on.
And after that, she went on to conquer the entrepreneurial world. It all started as a way to help other musicians like herself, but just like other entrepreneurs, it evolved into what it is today. She is the founder of SupaPass, an incredible tool that helps entrepreneurs monetize their work in their own terms. Doesn't that sound nice?
Indeed, it does. I think it sounds amazing, and I want to know more about it. Please welcome our winning musician, founder of SupaPass, and entrepreneur rockstar, Juliana Meyer. Welcome.
Hey, hello.
Welcome, Juliana.
We are so excited to have you here.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
That is such a cool intro. I was just sitting here going, oh, no.
Well, we are completely honored to have you here. You know, today, because of time schedules, you know, it's like what amazing is the internet.
Well,
we can connect all over the world.
For this episode, we didn't mention it, but we're flying all across the world into the United Kingdom so we can do this episode.
Yeah, and
I love that. I love how we can just be anywhere in the world, and it's just incredible how we're so connected now. I feel like it's happened a lot more this year than ever before.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. So, Juliana, why don't you share a little bit of your backstory? Because I was fascinated as we started to do some research and some digging and some, creeping here, Fonzie. We go to the official creeper. We dug some information. I want to know, like, how do you come up to play with the king, with the queen, and how did that evolve into what you do now, which is incredible. So, why don't you share a little bit of your story, and so we can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. Gosh, I don't know where to start. So I guess as you said, I started as a musician. That's definitely like my big love in life. And music has kind of always been everything to me. I think I started performing when I was about 2 years old. and then just kind of evolved. I guess my other love is I love kind of making systems more efficient, which probably sounds super geeky, but I just I love engineering. I did engineering at university at Oxford, and just when I was then working in the music industry, I just felt like there was this thing that we were all running around doing all manually and loads of extra work, and just just the way a lot of marketing of music worked, it just kind of took away from the magic, which is the creativity and making something and then instantly sharing it with the fans that love it most. And I just felt like there was an opportunity to use technology to make that connection much, much more direct. And this was, oh my gosh, this was 10 years ago. No, it was 13 years ago when I was like, okay, this would be a way to solve this. And then I thought, well, someone's going to do it. I'm up here making music. I'm not going to do it. And then after about 3 years of waiting for someone to do it, I just got really frustrated that it didn't exist. And I just really wanted it to exist. So I very naively started Superpass. I thought, right, let's make this happen. And yeah, that was 10 years ago. And we've been on an incredible journey since then. And now we're obviously working with a lot of different creators and entrepreneurs, not just in music, but outside of music in all kinds of different areas, from e-learning to health and well-being to podcasters, charities, conferences, TV and film, really anything with content, which frankly these days is most businesses. So we have a really awesome solution that just gives them a way to really take control of that whole experience online, where they can actually own everything, including 100% of the money, the relationship with their fans and all customers. So I mean, tons more, we can talk about that, but it's been one crazy journey.
That's amazing. That sounds so cool, and I mean, obviously there's many things in there. First, I haven't heard your music, but I want to hear your music. I want to hear your music really bad. So you gotta share with us the links. That'll be so exciting.
That's from another lifetime ago.
Second, your accent is super cool. I wish I had an accent like that. And
I like your accent.
Thank you. And third is I found incredible how out of your own need you created something so exciting like SupaPass, right? Yeah. And honestly, the first thought that comes to my mind is, because you pretty much allow entrepreneurs to stream their own content, right, in their own terms without having to depend in other parties like, let's say, Spotify, Netflix, whatever, right? If you want to put your content and monetize it, they can do it on their own terms, which I think is incredible. But I'm curious because you started this 13 years ago, right? I don't know exactly how old is Netflix, but I would think this is at the beginning of the streaming, I don't know, like excitement, right? Where people started to dive into streaming and all that stuff. How or what made you dive so early into that market right there? I think that is so interesting.
Yeah, so maybe for anyone listening or watching that doesn't know what we actually do, maybe I'll just start by saying, so we basically make mobile apps or websites for anyone with content, particularly video or audio content, but you can also have blogs and articles in there. And it basically gives you your own mobile app and website platform that instantly looks and feels like something like Netflix or Spotify or any of those beautiful apps, Amazon Prime, Apple Music, whatever it might be. It's that user experience that your fans or customers are really familiar with. You can have that out the box pretty much straight away. We've put some people live within hours. Sometimes it takes a few days, but it's not the year or more that you'd have to wait if you were actually building something like that from scratch. Yep. That's pretty much what we do. And remind me what the question was. I forgot what the question was.
Wait. First, I appreciate you sharing that because I totally skipped that. I was like, I was assuming here that everybody knew about SupaPass, which everybody should know. Okay, go check it out right now.
I remember what your question was. You're asking about Netflix and subscriptions and how long ago it was. Basically, so when I started it 10 years ago, so it's 2011, and that summer, Netflix had literally just started separating their digital streaming subscription from the DVD service that they were doing, and Spotify had just opened in the US. Wow. So it just gives everyone a bit of context of kind of where the subscription streaming world was. Yeah. And I felt like subscription was absolutely a really important area for people to be able to earn money for themselves rather than it going through these aggregated services. You should be able to charge a subscription directly to your fans. So it was definitely sort of seeing that micro subscription would be something that would be important for creators. And this was before things like Patreon or any of those kind of services existed. And I mean, that's just kind of where it started. Was I saw this trend towards streaming and subscriptions, and just really thought, well, what if people could actually have that for themselves on their own website or in their own service where, maybe it's only $1 or $2 a month, but that money's coming directly to you from your fans. And then in return, you're giving them direct access to the content that you're creating in a in real time. So not a year later after you've already, recorded the album last year and then have to then release it and then tour it when it's not fresh anymore. You could actually just release it straight away. So that was kind of the original feelings behind why we did it. And it's amazing now seeing people using it in exactly the way. I mean, the people use it in all kinds of ways, which is incredible, ways that I couldn't even imagine then that people use it, but people are also using it in exactly the way that I first wanted people, like why we started it. And it's just so nice. It's like a dream come true actually seeing people doing exactly that.
That's amazing.
That's so exciting. So I'm very curious, Juliana, on, you know, your past as a musician, right? Like, and Fonzie here is the creative one and the one always exploring, right? And I feel like he has some creative in there, but we never were musicians per se. Like our family was like, you guys play soccer and then you also have to do music, so you develop, you know, both sides of your brains. But we were never really attracted to that. But, you know, through different conversations, we hear that a lot of creatives might not be able to be organized or create systems and do that. And you know, according to what you just told us, you might be the exception to this, right? Like you were in this world of crazy creativeness, right? That sometimes it doesn't really align with systems on the business side of things. And you might tell me I'm wrong. And this is where I'm going with my questions. Like where do you find where do you find that urge? Like, was there a very specific episode in your story or in your background that you were like, this is it, I need to go do this? Do you always felt that bug to create something outside of maybe music or what you were doing in there? You also said that you were an engineer, right? So you're like, is engineering, music, creativity plus entrepreneurship? Like, wow, crazy awesome. Like, what was that episode that motivated you to do this?
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. I think for me, I've always felt, until Superpass, I felt I was living a bit of a double life, because I definitely had this kind of music, arty, performer kind of side of what I love doing, especially creating. So composing and recording was always my favorite part of that. And then there was always this side of me that was really into maths and science and kind of, you know, how things work and solving problems. And actually, I think it's really common for people to be really into music and maths, you know, together. I think that is actually not that unusual, but I think people often classify those two things as quite different spaces.
Yeah.
And I basically went into engineering because I'm really into the environment and really wanted to, you know, kind of help work towards changing the environment around us to make our impact on the planet, you know, less. So that was my motivation there. But I always had this massive love in my life of music. But I guess that's kind of my drive and my personal drivers. And then I ended up in this situation where I was working in the music industry, and I just have this weird brain that likes to, you know, solve problems. And it, as you say, it was a need that, so I never set out to be an entrepreneur. I never set out to start a business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs and see how hard they all work. And anyone out there listening that's an entrepreneur will know it's just absolutely so much time that you have to invest in it, and at the expense of a social life or family life or all these things. I mean, some people get the balance really, you know, do really well with that balance, but I think anyone who is in that situation does really struggle because it's just such demanding you know, thing to take on. So I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I saw them all working so hard, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to run my own business because I don't want to, you know, spend all my evenings just sat there at my desk working. Ironically, it's literally exactly what I did, and I've been doing 60 nowadays for like the last 10 years. But I did it not because I wanted to run a business, but because there was this big problem and need that I really felt needed solving. And it's incredible that in the last 10 years, I think it's really taken 10 years for the market to move to the right space for this. I think this is a really interesting time for everyone out there that does make content, because I think for a long time, people didn't necessarily see the need of, you know, owning your own data, or privacy wasn't such a big deal. Whereas now, you know, there's been so many things in the last couple of years about, you know, around privacy and trust, and people actually not wanting to share all that information. And also so that's from the kind of, you know, your customers and the end user perspective, and, you know, people losing trust in things like Facebook. And then from the creators perspective, it's been really interesting because I think for a while creators didn't realize, I think originally people knew they needed to have an email list, like a marketing mailing list, and then we kind of went through this phase where creators would sort of just be on social media and, you know, have tens of thousands of YouTube subscribers, but not know who any of them are, and not have any way to contact them outside of YouTube. Or the same with Facebook. You know, you have to, if you post on Facebook, it's not going to go to more than 10% of your followers unless you pay Facebook to boost it, which is crazy. You know, why should we be paying Facebook to reach our own audience? But that's the situation that we have. And I think now there's this shift in the market where people are starting to realize, actually, I really should have control of my audience. I should own the relationship with them directly, not through, you know, via this third party platform. And at the very least, I should have their email address. So wherever I am online, I can choose, okay, this is the latest craze, I can be there. But whatever, as those crazes move and change, I still have my own email list. And now a lot of focus obviously is on, building that email list, but a lot of that experience is quite, I don't know, like people often feel like they're being sold to. Like, let's say we work a lot with podcasters, actually. It's probably most of our new clients are all podcasters, because there's this really nice way that we solve a pain point that podcasters have, which is, when you have a podcast, most of the time you've got something else that you are offering the listeners. It might be some video courses you do, or it might be some extra cool content services that you do, or whatever it is that you're offering in addition to the podcast. And your listeners you'll sort of say, oh, well, go here for my free ebook or my free webinar, and then you'll collect their email addresses as part of that, so that you can then build a relationship with them.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't feel like a nice experience for that. Listeners feel like they're being sold to. Whereas instead, if you can say, if you love this podcast, download our app where you can listen to it. You can have a push notification to remind you whenever the latest episode comes out.
Yeah.
There you can read the show notes, read the transcript, come and comment on what you like, what else you want to hear, see links to our sponsors or our guests, all that can be in the app. And then once they're in the app, they've logged in to write comments. So you've got their email address, but you haven't done this exchange of free ebook for an email address. You've actually just naturally built that relationship with them, taken it to the next level. It's like dating. It's like I'll leave that analogy there, but there's lots of probably say that it just feels nicer than that kind of cold contact that feels like a sale. And then if you do have a video course or other things, they can then be in the app alongside where they are already. And instead of then having to send an email, oh, come buy our video course, they'll just see it there in the app. And if they're interested, if you're giving them value, then they're going to go, oh gosh, I really want more of this. Oh, look at this wonderful thing over here I can engage with.
Absolutely.
So
That's
a big shift.
Yeah, that's interesting that you put it that way, because I started thinking on all the times I've been to a landing page, right? And there are exceptions, really good landing pages with really good offers on the back that I'm like, yeah, take my email, please. I don't really care about it. But most of them, they do feel like you're being sold. Like, oh, do I really want to put my email? And then you go and you put the email where you send all the spam to, right? Which it can be like spam my email at gmail.com, something like that, right? You're like, oh yeah, that's the one email. I never
spam me.
And your folder has 12,000 emails.
And that doesn't build a good relationship, because the thing is, if you really actually do want to get to know that person more, as in you as the customer want to actually get to know that content creator more, then if it's all going into your spam email and email open rates suck, and actually if you can build the relationships through trust and experience and just value, I want to come here because I think what you're doing is awesome, and then I'm going to give back to you. I'm going to engage in the community. I'm going to find other like-minded people. Like, who else is listening? On an email, you don't know who else is listening. In an app, you can go, oh gosh, wow, look at all these amazing people who love this too, because oh gosh, we're all passionate about the same thing. And it's really hard on social media to cut through the noise, to find other like-minded people that isn't really diluted down either by people trying to sell to you or by trolls or haters. And actually what's really interesting, because I've said some negative things about social media, I think social media is amazing for growing your audience, increasing reach, and finding new stuff. So for that, it's brilliant. But it definitely doesn't serve that top 1 to 10% who are really, really engaged. Where do they go to really engage with you more deeply? And social media just has too much other stuff there to really have a valuable experience for them. And that's really where we fit in with what we can offer entrepreneurs and creators, is a space where they can send that, it might only be 1%. I mean, we all hope it's like 10% plus, but maybe it's just, a few hundred people. Absolutely. But where do they go? And they're the ones who are going to love what you do the most. They're going to hopefully buy your other stuff and, help you earn a living. And also they're the ones that probably are getting the most out of it. So you should learn about them so you can make more stuff that they're going to value. And it's really about finding who your true audience is that you should be focusing on. And if you are just out there with all these, thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, it's really hard to actually learn that about your own audience.
So absolutely. Wait, sorry. I want to finish real quick. That is such a good point, right? Because again, I was thinking on all the times I download an app, when it tells me to sign on into the app, it's like, use your Facebook email or your Google email. And I'm like, I don't really care. Like, bam, I just hit the Google email, and I usually give my main email to that
Yeah.
app, right? But again, when you compare that to landing pages, one is so skeptical of the landing pages. So I found it super interesting. It's like, wow, like the value proposition on both, it seems to be so big on the app side that you really don't even think about it like, oh, they're gonna spam me or whatnot. Because I'm gonna be honest, like I've been signing on to some apps that maybe they do send emails that I'm like, oh man, this is so annoying. So I think it does take a balance too on what are you actually doing in the email side. Are you actually building this relationship and caring for these people, not just like promote, and then just burn out your audience. But like you said, social media, it's a great channel to drive traffic to these things. And we were talking about it the other day about TikTok, right? Which is huge right now. We are not on TikTok, but we're like, wow, it is. We've noticed people growing their Facebook accounts or their Instagram accounts, which then they grow their emails, like email list, right? Because they're driving that traffic from TikTok. They're using it. And I think with TikTok, it's a little bit more obvious because they let you put like your other social medias right there on the top. But it is a tool to drive traffic to other places. So if you understand that, use social media as well to drive people outside of that into your own app with SupaPass, right? Instead of, okay, I'm going to build my entire business in Facebook and be just totally dependable on these platforms that, who knows, right? Something can happen. Like they lowered your reach and now you have to pay more to reach more of your own audience and all that stuff. And it is very challenging. So
we even meet some creators that Facebook literally just closes their account and you can't speak to a human or, you know, it's just crazy and you just lose it all. It's surprising how many people that has actually happened to. And it was interesting what you said about the email in the app. It's a separate opt-in. So creating your login and opting into marketing emails is still an option that people have. So people do want to participate with the content in the app, but they just don't want to get emails. Like it's really important to respect. And that's what I mean about building an authentic relationship. You have to respect what people want and why they're there. You're not there to like the best way to earn money from eventually is actually to just, it's an exchange of value, isn't it? It's like I create this thing that you really value and you value it enough to pay for me. And actually some of our most successful content creators that we work with, they actually offer optional pricing where people can choose to pay more, you know, for the same amount of content. And then people actually, like 20% of people are actually paying more for that. Just because there's that it's building that relationship rather than this is a monetary exchange. It's an exchange of value where money just happens to be involved. And it's a really different kind of mindset. And we'll have others that will have everything free on there and just have a, you know, a donation. You know, if you like this work, donate here. So it's like Patreon, but instead of losing the fees that, you know, the revenue share that goes to Patreon, and then Patreon have to pay a bunch of taxes, even if you don't have to normally pay those taxes like VAT and stuff. With this, you just literally earn 100% of any of that stuff. So we have some that have actually moved over from Patreon to us. That's incredible. To actually just keep 100% of their donations.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
And you know, one word that comes to, well, a couple of them is, you know, safety, like this private space that you could have with your audience, right? Like, and or the people that follow you is a safe space where you can, you know, connect the dots, right? Because I mean, even us, like we've had this conversation, right? Like we jumped on a call with you about a week ago and we're like, hey, how can we, you know, crush it with a Content is Profit app, right? Like we have such amazing like entrepreneurs here, including you now. We're like, we need to make this happen because like this message needs to be shared. But you know, we've done more than I think 90 interviews up to this point. And we're like, man, like these interviews are out there in the webs. Awesome. For those who find it, that's great. But at the same time, it's like, how can we offer this amazing creative experience for people that really want to dive in and, you know, connect with these amazing entrepreneurs? Like what are the options? And as soon as we started going to the crazy zone, the possibilities are endless. So if I want to bring this back to the context of the show, right? Like for example, Content is Profit, right? People think when we're amplifying messages or, you know, we're amplifying reach or when we're repurposing content, it's like, it's all about social. No, it's so much more than this. Like we're investing our valuable time to create these amazing pieces of content like many other entrepreneurs. Like how can we, you know, make sure that that content of value reaches my intended audience so they can use it for their benefit, right? So does that entail an amazing, crazy, awesome experience? Like, you know, having your own app, like how crazy is that? How amazing these options are. And sometimes we're blinded by, you know, maybe the noisy people out there, right? Like, and hey, don't get me wrong, we publish a ton. We publish about 100 pieces of content every single week,
it's amazing what you guys do.
everywhere, right? But at the same time, it's like, man, out of that, how can we then take that and create this amazing, unique experience for those that decide to opt in as this safety space? So I thank you for bringing this solution to this. Now, I'm very curious, like, and I don't want this to kind of go unseen, because in part of your story, you mentioned, oh yeah, it just took us like 10 years. And you said it's super casual, like give us 10 years, right? And I want to, shine some light into this right now, because a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs, content creators, they get into the game and they think it's an overnight thing. They think that they're going to record one video and then the next day they're going to have thousands of views and thousands of clients, right? And even though, you are building this business, from 10 years ago to now, right? You're creating content with us right now. You're at events, you're meeting people, you're networking, you're having conversations, right? And everything is so connected, right? Like we started our company about 5 years ago, but really Content is Profit is about 9 months old. But it's still a baby, and it has been evolving. And we decided to do 3 times a week to make sure that we can advance as fast as possible. But it does take time. So through those 10 years, what do you have any challenges, or what is like one challenge that you really remember is like, oh man, like this is it, like I'm not gonna continue with this? And obviously you did continue. So why you did continue?
Cool. So yeah, one of my favorite sayings is, it's amazing how many nights it takes to be an overnight success. Which I think, everyone likes to think about the overnight success, but actually if you look at most people that have success in their lives, it's a lifetime of work and a lifetime of building up experience and skills and knowledge and people around you that can support you on that journey. It takes a lot. But I think underneath it, there's a core that has to run through it all, which is just, I guess, a vision and a determination to make change in the world. And I think for me, certainly, I mean, it has been a long journey, but all the way through, I've been really lucky because I've been helped by incredible people. We have an amazing team. We have an amazing advisory board. We have all sorts of people that have mentored me and given me so much help, for free, just because they believe in what we're doing and want to help us. So firstly, massive thanks to all of them. I would not be here without them. All the incredible success that our clients are having, it's a game changer for them. They constantly tell us they couldn't live without it. It's a game changer for them. That wouldn't happen without the amazing team that I work with every day. They bring so much energy. We just had our Christmas Zoom party yesterday. It's so sad it has to be on Zoom, but that was yesterday, and it's just so nice. Like we're all just a family and we love working together. And for me, I think a big motivation, the two biggest motivations that I have in my job is, one, the clients that we work with. They are the most inspiring people. They are entrepreneurs or creators that are changing their own little space of the world. I'm happy to talk through some examples because I just admire them so much. So I love getting out of bed every day to help them and help them to create change in the world. And through that, we're creating change in the world.
Absolutely.
That's a massive one. And then the other is really the team. Like, I love that this work we're doing gives all their families, we're supporting a whole bunch of families and everybody. So many times I hear from the team that, they love coming to work. This is like things like this is their happy space, stuff like that. I mean, obviously not every, sometimes people don't want to go to work, but that's different. But, that they just really love their jobs. And I just think that we do work. We shouldn't do a job to earn money to live. We should do work that helps us to live better. It's what we spend most of our time doing. We've got to be doing something that we enjoy. And I think that's what the whole team experiences. So, but yeah, you said, was there a place along the 10 years where, it's been, there have definitely been moments where it's been, we've had challenges, some of which it was like, all right, this probably means we can't carry on. There's been a load of those. But somehow, I call it the Superpass miracle. Somehow, whenever that's come along, there's always been something that comes out of the woodwork, not by chance. I mean, it's often through tremendous endeavor to create opportunity, but there'll always be something that will enable us in the 11th hour to carry on. And I mean, the business is in a really great place now. We're working with so many incredible creators and entrepreneurs, and we're very well supported. We've got incredible investors. So a lot of it's been funded by private investment. So, just angel investors that, like-minded with us, really want to see this make a big difference. So we're very well supported by them. And yeah, we just kind of haven't needed to go down the VC route or any of that, because we've just kind of, we've just kind of made it happen this way.
Love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, you know, when you were talking about the community that you're surrounded with, I remember that I read something about you creating like a tech community sort of after your musician days, or like in between starting Superpass and transitioning from your musician career, right? So I'm curious, what was that? Did that help you connect with the right people? What is the value that you see in community when it comes to building a movement? Because this is what you're building, right? You're not just building a company, you're building something bigger, right? You're something, like you said, that helps people live better. So I'm curious, what was the role that played, and what was it exactly called? Because I don't quite remember.
Yeah, sure. So basically, when I set out to start Superpass, so I was living in Norwich, which is a city about 2 hours outside of London in the UK, and I hadn't lived here very long, and I didn't know anyone in the tech community. I didn't know any software developers. I just literally didn't know anyone. And I was traveling into London to just, find out more about creating technology. And I thought, this is crazy. I'm going to these meetups in London to meet people, but I should be building the team where I live. And there wasn't anything. There wasn't any kind of networking group for the kind of tech and startup community here in Norwich. And, the other way to find other developers was through recruiters, and frankly the recruitment fees were more than my entire budget for the company for the next year, so it was just not even an option. So I basically set up what started off as 12 of, so it was a meetup group, 12 of us in the pub, the first meeting, a little bit like Chris from Podfest. very, very similar story actually. And there was literally 12 of us in the pub. The second one of those, I met my tech co-founder who helped build it for the first 4 years. And I just wanted to meet other like-minded people. And I remember that first meeting, and someone said to me, I've been really waiting for something like this to happen. And it was just kind of the right thing at the right time. And 6 months later, we had a team of co-founders that officially set it up as Sync Norwich, which now has about 1,700 members. It's basically Norwich's startup community. And it's just going strong. Everyone's still helping. We've had so many startups that have come out of it. We just had on Thursday another event where 6 startups were pitching to the community to tell them what they're doing. I'm not directly involved with it anymore because I'm just 100% focused on Superpass, but the team that have really grown it is, it's just wonderful to, I think it was the right thing at the right time, and people really needed it. And there's a few groups like that in the local community here. One of our team, actually, he co-runs Nordev, which is another community for more kind of technical for software developers. And that's also here, and they're also doing really well. And through lockdown, we just had every Friday night, we'd have a Zoom pub chat, and we have a D&D group, and they have speakers every Thursday. So, it's really, really engaged. And I think that local support of really just coming to the group saying, I've got this really weird issue with the code here, and people just throw ideas together, or saying, hey, have you seen Bitcoin suddenly up 10% in the last 24 hours? You just hang out with people that kind of are into the same things.
That's so impressive. And I love how you connected the dots in there, kind of like, I'm going here, why I don't create my own community and try to attract all these people with similar interests that we can talk about. And is in a sense, it's like a mastermind that you're hosting all these minds together, and you guys are coming up with, solutions to your problems. And I'm sure somewhere along the way, you were like, hey, I need help with this for Superpass, and you might have found the right person in that community that could help you.
We very rarely actually hire in a traditional way. Most of the time, most of our team have come through the network that we've built up, through the community, one way or another, either directly or indirectly. So a lot of our devs I met at one of those meetups, or I met someone at one of those meetups that then introduced me to someone else in the team, and it's just really nice because everybody knows each other as well. There's hundreds of people in the community, but it's a relatively small community. It's a few thousand people in the community rather than 500,000 people. So you can really get to the point where everyone kind of either knows each other or knows of each other through somebody else. So it also means that what you do really matters. You don't want to get a bad reputation for something. But it also means there's a lot of respect in the community for each other to really help each other.
Wow.
And yeah,
That
when
is so
somebody,
powerful.
some of the, especially during the last year, some companies have had really hard times and had to, reduce their teams maybe by half, and then we'll all just send each other CVs and say, these are amazing people we, don't want to. So, we've managed to help out some of our friends' companies by bringing more people into our team from their companies that were in trouble.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's really nice to be able to help each other.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, right? And I feel like lately, I mean, obviously with everything that has been happening this year, communities have become more and more important, right? Like,
Definitely.
especially in 2020, is with the tools that we have, the internet. Now it's very easy to come together, right, as a community, whatever you are, right? Like, even if time schedules might be a little crazy,
There's no excuse anymore.
There's no excuse anymore, right? And I feel like businesses, regular people, like, even like, try to find what is your little niche community that you can be a part of, and then go there, connect with people, have these amazing conversations, because that's what's happened. On our side personally, before we even had the show, we were jumping in and out of different things, and trying to find the shiny object, and figuring things out, and blah blah blah, right? But then we're like, okay, what is a way for us to first spread our message, right? For the first 20 episodes, it was just me and Fonzie, and afterwards we're like, well, wouldn't it be cool to bring these amazing entrepreneurs and have this amazing conversation where they can talk about what they're really good at. And then guess what? We've been able to develop amazing relationships, right? And we've had several people say, well, you guys should start the Content Profit community. And we're like, yes. And we talked about this, right, Juliana? We talked about capacity, and we're like, is it the right time? Right. And I think it comes to the commitment, but the show has been that for us, has been like that meetup place where we can, that platform that allows us to connect with people, which at the end of the day, that's what content really does, is helping you connect with amazing people with like-minded thoughts, like-minded objectives, and so on.
And in a way, I think your platform does that too, right? Because again, it's allowing these entrepreneur podcasters to build their own community. Right. And now they have a way to nurture it through, whether that is email, and at the same way you're adding value through SupaPass and your platform, and all these videos that they're adding. So, and like my brother said when he was talking right now about the community, I just remember our business didn't grow until we joined a community.
Exactly.
Like, that was the turning point for us. It was when we actually joined a community, picked the one thing that we were going to do, and that's when everything started growing. And you mentioned you had a few kind of like cases, examples that you wanted to share, and I would love for you to share them, because I feel some people might identify themselves with them, right? Maybe we got someone out there listening that is saying, you know what, that sounds amazing, but that might not be for me. And now here you might come with an example that they're like, whoa, that is exactly me. She's talking to me right now. So go ahead, take it away.
So the first thing I want to talk about there is the community thing that you were saying, and actually it's really interesting with your podcast, that if you do want to build a community, quite often people think, oh well, I'm going to make a Facebook group, or I'm going to make a LinkedIn group, and you're building on someone else's land, and you're building up all this stuff, and then you're dependent on your audience actually being on Facebook or LinkedIn, or spending time there. And these days a lot of people are drifting to other platforms, or so you're just kind of putting in all this work really for someone else's gain. And there was actually a really nice quote at VidFest in one of the talks, where they basically said, don't build your castle on someone else's land. And with Superpass, you're not building it on Superpass, you're building it on your own website and your own app. And we've talked a lot about the app today, but for anyone listening or watching, it's actually also a website where it's on your own website, it's your own URL. It's either in place of your own website, or it's a subdomain of your existing website, which is then your like content hub or membership area. And if you are going to build a community, it definitely makes sense for you to really, really own it, and have it where it's platform agnostic. Whatever platforms people like, they're going to come and be part of your community where you tell them you're building it. And the other thing we talked about before about social media, social media is brilliant for increasing your reach and for finding your audience, but then you want it to be the top of the funnel where you're actually then sending people to your place. So whether it's from your podcast or from YouTube or social media, you want to then send them to your website. And it's incredible that something like over 90% of content creators actually send people away from their website. So I like to say that websites are like a train station. you know, that you'll send people to your website and it's basically like a map to listen to my podcast on all these other platforms, go to all these social media, and you know, it's really fragmented for your audience. They're being sent to all these other places, and then the minute they get there, they're distracted because they're then seeing your competitor or some other person they're following, and they've forgotten that actually they were on a journey with you. So actually being able to use that stuff, which is brilliant for growing your audience at the top of the funnel, bringing people to your own website, and with us you get both the website and the mobile app, but it's all white label, it's all yours, it's your app in the App Store, it's your domain URL, and we're just basically silently powering underneath, and you own the data as well. That's another thing which I've always been really important to me, is it's your data, you own the email addresses, we just process it all for you. But like, whereas like Facebook and places like that, like they own the data and you're just like a visitor there. So I think that difference of you know, and we don't take a rev share either. It's 100%. Anything you earn on there is 100%. You keep it. So all these things, I guess, because I come from being a creator, and I was like, what pisses me off about online?
Yes,
you know, good English phrase there for you. You know, I don't get to keep. I have to, you know, do rev share. You know, not keep all my money. I don't get ownership of my own data. I don't get to completely control the look and feel of my own brand. I have to send people to websites that aren't even mine. You know, twitter.com/ facebook.com/ you know, it's like just send them to my thing. And yeah, this is something that we've addressed all those things.
Incredible.
Really give people their own home online. And actually brings me to your question, which is that home online. A great example is Imogen Heap, who we work with, who's so she's a Grammy award winning music artist. She's written stuff with Taylor Swift. She wrote the Harry Potter theatre music.
Oof.
She's I mean, she's amazing. I'm a big fan of hers. And she uses Superpass in such a wonderful way, because she's got about 2 million Twitter followers, but she felt that it was too noisy. She couldn't really tell who were the, you know, her most, you know, her kind of true fans and who was just kind of passing through. And she kind of lost, because when she was making her first album that she produced completely herself, she did these amazing YouTube how-to videos. This is already going back maybe 20 years, a long time ago. And she said then she was really connected with her fans because she was having this dialogue with them, and she got to know individuals within that community, and she felt inspired by it towards the creative process. Whereas somewhere along the line, as she, you know, grew that audience and became more famous, she lost that ability to have that intimate conversation. And she feels that for her Superpass fans, which they're not Superpass fans, they're her heapsters, because, you know, they're it's the name of a Imogen super fan. And just as a side note, Superpass and Superfan is basically where the name Superpass came from, is because it was all based around the Superfan. So she has her heapsters in there, which, you know, it's not many. It's, you know, a few hundred people versus the 2 million. But she now knows like all of those few hundred people, and they'll get involved in the conversation with her, and they're also, you know, supporting her by paying their subscription. And she did these live broadcasts all during the pandemic and lockdown, where every Tuesday and Thursday she'd do these live improv sessions and Q&A with the fans, where she'd sit in her listening chair, which is another project she's doing, an AI project with IBM Watson. She does amazing things. It's like look up all sorts of cool things. But so she's been doing all of this with her app and her website with us, and with the fans she did all these live improv sessions, hours and hours of work, and then she's then got the fans to go through and listen to it, and they've been working together on a shared Google sheet where they mark which timestamps are really cool that they then want her to go and spend more time in the studio developing those musical ideas. So it could take her so much time to do that, but actually she's just getting the fans to directly feedback to her what do they love, what's resonating with them, and it's like truly getting them involved in the creative process. So that's a really cool example of using the community, that it's like a subset community within that wider social media community, where it's just a different level of engagement. There's just so, and it's about what I was saying about exchange of value. It's about having the opportunity to connect more deeply with those people that matter the most. And it's not saying it's not saying you're excluding everyone else, because, you know, there will still be the traditional channels to do all that other stuff, but it's just, where do you bring people when they're really, really engaged, that's going to feel like a connection that really matters and inspires you to create more, inspires them to engage more. Because after all, what are we here for? We're not really here to make money. We're here to just make impact and change and inspire people.
Yeah, it's like a deeper layer of connection, that one right there. Because again, I'm sure that person that you just mentioned, she's just creating content still on all the other platforms.
Yeah.
But then she's telling them, hey, if you want to connect in a deeper level, right, you got to come here. Like, this is where I hang out and I do these improv sessions, and where you can actually have a voice too, where I can hear you. Because on Facebook, I might not hear you. You might send me something, but it might get lost in the thousands of messages that I get.
To everything that's going on.
Yeah,
exactly.
But in this platform, I have access to everything, and we can talk, and we can interact again on a deeper level. And I think that is
incredible.
That is very, very important for any community, right?
Yeah.
Be able to talk. I don't want to put it in terms of the leader, but I'm going to put it in those terms. Like the leader with the community, and the community between themselves as well, right? That's what makes
be able to find each other too. Exactly. Yeah. And it's amazing how many fan clubs actually are fan created fan clubs. If they're like passionate about something that they do off social media, they do like on old fashioned forums, just because they want to find each other. So you're creating the opportunity for people that are passionate about this thing to come together and talk about it. And another, you asked for example, so another really completely different example is Brody, who has created Run Smarter. So he's a sports physio, and he's got a fairly new podcast. Like, I think he only started in about the last 6 months, but he's seeing really high growth. He's based out in Australia, and he's now got his own website and app with us, where he's put all of his podcasts in there. He's also got his video courses that he's made that he sells in there. And, unlike on some of the other platforms, he's obviously, keeping 100% of the money from those courses. And then he's also he had a Patreon, and he's moved all those patrons over. He said it was really easy to do that as well. And obviously he's now keeping 100% of those. And he's basically just bringing, for him, I think the big thing was having everything together. So, he had his podcast over there, he had his video courses over here, he had his Patreon over there, he had all the other things he's doing with his blog. And, just for him, it's such a relief to just, finally have everything together. And also the other thing that's really valuable for podcasters like that is when you're trying to rise up over the noise of, there's so many different people out there giving advice about, running smarter and staying fit and recovering from injuries. But when people see that, you've got two different people that you could sort of, get that advice from, and one of them has an app, you instantly think, wow, this person's got an app that, and it just kind of raises your profile and the level of professionalism that you can offer, which actually really makes you stand out ahead of your competitors and gives you the edge. And it's such a fast-paced market. There's so much happening now, and we actually have a lot of customers coming to us now that have identified a special niche or niche where they are currently the leading authority, but now other people in their space have seen, oh wow, their podcast is doing really well, we should start our own podcast. And now they're like, okay, I'm 6 months ahead, but how do I stay ahead? And they're actually now getting apps with us. It means you can also get much more valuable sponsorship as well, because you can add much more value to them by creating a special space where the sponsors can even feature their own videos or something, that again, it's not an advert, it's just a value exchange where hopefully you're picking sponsors that are offering something valuable to your listeners, but then they can actually be featured in a more powerful way. And plus you've got an audience you have more direct ownership over, which is more valuable for sponsors. So we're actually seeing so many podcasters using it in a way to actually really get ahead of their competition, stay ahead, and become like the leading authority in their space. In most cases because they already are, but also because they want to stay ahead and want to be able to demonstrate to people that actually they've got something that's really special ahead of the people on their heels, basically.
That is definitely very, very powerful, right? It's so many ideas. Every time we talk to you, I'm like, like so many things.
A little background for you listening or watching, right? The first time we met Juliana was like in this session at the meetup that we had at BitFest, and she came in and then we started talking about this, and our two heads just exploded immediately with ideas and going to the crazy zone. And it has really been amazing experience, Juliana, chatting then and especially and today too, because it gave us a new perspective to like new options that we had no idea that existed out there for content creators, for example. And okay, how do we tie all this together into an amazing platform for the audience? for those listening, for those watching, right, that they might want to just go back and re-listen many times, you know, that one episode that made the impact. And especially, right, like if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, like this, you know, your story is so inspiring too, you know, because it came from a place that, you know, you were like, absolutely not, I am not going to be an entrepreneur, but you were like, oh my God, but this is this problem I need to solve now. And it's incredible, right? So
and she played for the Queen somewhere in between
there. Yeah, play for the Queen. So
no big deal.
No biggie. And I really hope that pushes people into execution, right? And with that, like, I'm gonna ask you the last question of your show today, right? Like, what will be your number one action point for somebody that's in that place? Like, it could be, we could go like on the entrepreneurial side or on the content side. Well, on the content side, it's simple. You just go to SupaPass, you know, connect with them. We're gonna leave all the links right here below. Go find out, because it's incredible what they're doing. And if you're interested, let us know too what you're doing with your content, so we can, you know, team up and do something super cool with you and everybody listening. Now, what will be your number one action point for people to move forward and get that momentum?
So we get a lot of people coming to us for advice on, you know, they've got these really great ideas of how they can really grow the next stage of their business. And they often ask us, you know, how do we do it? And it's really simple. I always just say, just start. I think people often think, okay, I can't do that yet because I don't have enough content, or my content isn't yet of the level that I'm happy with, or I'm busy over here, so I, you know, don't want to just, you know, like, there's just so many excuses. And I don't use the word excuse lightly, because I know that they're real reasons, but we've seen so many people really successfully just get going with, like, you know, we say MVP in tech, minimum viable product, but, you know, I've heard MVC, minimum viable content. You know, you can get started with almost nothing. And the thing is, the sooner you get something out there and start getting feedback from people, the sooner you're going to be able to start improving it and making it better. And I think when people feel that there's this barrier of all these things, I mean, I've seen it happen lots of times. They'll take a year, they'll take 2 years. They'll sometimes never get started because they just feel that there's all this stuff in the way. So I'd say just start. You can start with very, very little. And that's one of the things I'm so excited about with Superpass is instead of someone having a big budget or having to take a lot of time to build technology like this, with us, you literally can get started within a few days. You can have your own app, like literally within a few days, you can have your own app. And you also don't have to have the budget for it. You know, you can literally do it from as little as, you know, well, our prices start at $20 a month, depending on what kind of you know, tier you want, but, you know, it's affordable to anyone. And if you're really serious about your business, then you know, it's amounts that you're probably already spending on loads of other tools online that actually maybe you're not spending it in the right places. So we make it really, really easy to just get going. And then once you've got it, you can then start to get that real life feedback. You can even start usually earning revenue pretty quickly as well. And then take it from there. And
it's incredible that advice of just start is not the first time we hear it, right? Like, and we need to get going, right? And like you said, like, this can be like it holds you accountable, right? Like, you're now committed. And I feel like more and more that we're having these conversations, I feel like people might be very scared of commitment. We were, right? Like, why we didn't start the show 2 years ago, right? Like, it was the commitment side of things. We're like, oh man, should we actually do it? And the second we started and we start seeing feedback and people responded to it, and the audience and the connections that we've made, it's been incredible. So it holds you accountable to take that action and then continue to execute. And then you have this amazing tool on the back end that is developing this amazing community, which is incredible. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Julian, I have like one last question, right? You connect with a ton of people that publish.
You keep adding last question.
I know. I'm sorry.
You said this was the last question.
Well, now
I'm kidding you.
One more.
They want more secret.
We usually have
secret question.
The two last questions, but I'm messing around with this guy.
Yeah, he put me under the bus, and today is like the double-decker bus because we're in London. So, anyways, you deal with a lot of people that publish, like a lot, right? Especially like in their own community. Like, what have you seen? Like, where do you think these people will be if they never published? Or even you, right? Like, you published at some degree. You're at these events, networking. You had your own community. So, where do you think you or like these people will be if they never published?
Well, I guess we wouldn't know about them because they wouldn't be publishing. So I guess, you know, it's all just about. I think the other thing that I always like to say to people is you are an expert in something. You might probably, most people don't realize what they are an expert in because they think, well, this is obvious. Of course I know this because, you know, I've worked in this all my life and stuff, but they don't realize that other people don't know that thing. Whatever that is, there'll be someone sat next to you that doesn't know that thing. So how awesome is it to have the opportunity to share that thing that you know really well? And it doesn't even have to be an expert, you know, it doesn't even necessarily have to be something you've done for 20 years. It might be something you've literally just learned. You've just done a course on it. It's fresh in your brain and now you know it and that person next to you doesn't. Like, you know, so you don't even have to have known it for long. But how wonderful to be able to share ideas. And I think that's what I love about TED Talks is it's all about sharing ideas. And it's just, that's such a wonderful concept. And the other thing that I guess it's another barrier that people feel is, oh, I've got to create all this extra work if I want to do something like what we offer. And actually I would say don't. Like, okay, maybe if you get to do that stuff later as a bonus, that's what it is, it's a bonus, but don't base it on that. You're already, like everyone who's listening to this that makes some content, you're already doing so much work already.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your own app or your own content hub on a website. You don't have to do anything extra. It's just a place to bring everything you're already doing, all that hard work you're already doing, to bring it together in one place, no extra content needed, and just putting it somewhere where you're then going to be able to make more out of it, get more value from it, give more value to that audience that really matter. And it's just about everyone getting more out of it, all that work you're already doing, no extra work needed.
Yeah. Incredible.
So,
yeah. Incredible.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. It's a great reminder. And for some, it's
well, you guys are amazing. You produce so much each week. I honestly don't know how you do it, but
thank you.
The coffee,
the commitment,
the coffee,
the energy. You guys just have such amazing energy. I love it.
Thank you, Juliana. I really appreciate it.
Now, Juliana, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? If they want to learn a little bit more about SupaPass, about you, about your story, how can they reach out to you?
About your music, where can they hear it?
So if you want to know more about SupaPass, then our website, it's super with an A, SupaPass.com. And feel free to write us. There's a contact form on there. You can write us a message. You can write to me, Juliana, you know, mention that you saw the show. And, you know, we'd be happy to have a chat with you about any other questions that you have. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to find my music because honestly, it's from another lifetime ago, but it's just Juliana Meyer, you know, on any of the kind of streaming platforms. But honestly, so the stuff I'm really proud of isn't even on there. So, but maybe one day I'll get back to actually.
That's what we do. We'll put it in Juliana. We'll get the stuff that you're really proud of, and we'll put it in a SupaPass app, right, for people to go and check it out.
Love it.
One day I'll get back to actually making music again.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, it's like I keep saying one day I will go back to playing soccer, but I'm turning into the ball. That's what's happening right now. Rounding all the edges.
Juliana, so I actually read in your website that you were a cello and guitar teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well,
he's trying to learn the guitar.
I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar. So you know, we might have to connect. I need a teacher.
The cello teaching actually has another layer to that story because the first 3 years of Superpass, we you know, it was just two of us. We obviously didn't have any revenue coming in. We were self-funding. We were basically completely bootstrapping, and I was teaching cello in the evenings to A, put food on the table, and B, pay for the servers and you know, various company costs. So yeah, it was pretty crazy, like basically working all day on Superpass and then all night teaching cello to try and pay the bills. So it's a pretty intense 3 years of that before we raised our first investment.
That's awesome. We relate to the story because we used to coach soccer. We used to do one-on-one classes with kids too. And that was the thing, right? Like we were making enough money, so hey, how do we complement? And the skills that we had at the moment, right, were for us was play soccer. So we knew how to teach soccer. Same as you, your skill at the moment was music. You know how to teach music, and you use that complementary to what we're doing right now. So there's always a way to, like you said, just start. Right?
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah, exactly. I think it really ties into the just start because people often think, okay, I've got to have built up a certain amount of savings to then quit my job, to then do this. But you know, you can just start with a side hustle. Just get going, keep some other revenue so that you're not, you know, under that kind of tremendous pressure, and just get going. And then once it kind of gets to the point where the balance changes, then you can sort of decide when to take the leap. But
Absolutely.
it just de-risks it and just takes all the pressure off, and means you can just get going right now, because someone wants to hear what you have to say right now.
So good. Thank you, Juliana. This has been incredible. Guys, scroll down and just click on the links that we're going to leave right there. That's going to send you directly to connect with Juliana and SupaPass. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at Babes Roscoe.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.